Hi everybody, I'm back for part two, back from my meetings that all were very productive, and I want to make another video for you about research and researching strategies and skills and words and what things are called and how to tell the difference between one citation source and another. And I don't have my face on the screen because it's just a lot to look at as it is. So let me see if I can, no, I don't want to close my timer. Let me share my screen. Hopefully, I'm going to play the video back to test it, but hopefully you see the whole screen. I don't know if I can get rid of this timer. I'm afraid to, because I'm afraid I'm going to lose track. Oh, that was bad. Hold on. Okay, maybe I got rid of it. So, I am getting my second master's at Gettysburg College for no reason other than that my PhD program requires a master's in history. I didn't know that when I was getting a master's in diplomacy. So always check if that's going to be your route, although that's a really awful route to take right now in college, unless you are financially secure, right? So anyway, I have access to this library. It's a college library, so it's going to have a lot in it. If you only have access to Dallas College, you're not going to have access to as many of these things. However, Miss Canales in the library is a reference librarian, which means she has a master's degree in basically, like, not just research, but she has a master's degree in the most efficient way for you to find what you're looking for. And if you're on the right path with your extended essay, and like I think today Charlie walked away with this for sure, I just call out people as they realize what they're doing, so that hopefully if you're lost and any of those people I call out are like your friends, or they've already worked with me, perhaps collaboration is something like you can work on if you want to get help but we can't schedule like a full appointment. So when you start researching, you want to feel in your heart that you know exactly what to put in the box to do the research. Prior to meeting today, I think some people were still just randomly searching, like different terms, different orders of terms. But when you have your paper the way you want it, and when your paper is on the right track, you will know exactly what to search for, the right combination of words. Even better, you'll know when you find it. Okay, so I'm going to start with something kind of random, and then kind of show you how this all works together. I also have here the dashboard for EasyBib, which I will explain in a second. I also have here access to Zotero, which is a way digitally, virtually, whatever you want to call it, to keep track of your sources and your notes on those sources without having to keep actual physical note cards. Here I have Purdue University, who is the leader in, support pages for the Chicago Manual of Style, which if you're writing a humanities paper, odds are you're using the Chicago style. If you're doing psych, you have your own style guide. If you're doing English, you have your own style guide. Basically, every class is going to have a different style of citation. There are endless types of citation systems. All of them do the same thing. They allow you to talk about a source that's not yours and use it to prove your point, knowing that it's not yours. Okay? They all do the same thing. They just do them in different ways for different reasons. Let's go back here. So let's say that I want to start. There's always this option right here to go to databases. Huntley and I, it took us like a year to figure out that we were telling classes completely opposite things, although we were telling classes the correct things. So I was telling my history kids, don't ever start with databases. She was telling her English kids, always start with databases. So, like everything else, depending on your subject, you may or may not go to databases. For history, that is a big problem. That's a big no. Because historians are it's rarer that historians have written for journals. They do, but it's rarer that they write for journals than does a psychiatrist or a psychologist or another topic. So we're going to avoid databases A to Z because I'm modeling a history paper, so we're not going to use databases. You're going to start with the most general search. and I'm going to choose the Marshall Plan. An easy one, right? The plan where Truman freed up what is now trillions of dollars to spend in Europe, actually helping our enemies. Part of the Marshall Plan was paying Germany so that Germany could pay their debts to England and France, and so we were paying the people that we punished so that they could pay England and France. It's more in our benefit to have England and France not lean socialist or fascist to pay that off, right? And I just gave you the revisionist version, which is it's all about the money. Another version of the Marshall Plan is that's how much we value democracy. That's how much we value creating a foreign policy that will make things, that will allow us to keep allies. And then there's a third side. The third side is the humanitarian side, that we're simply sending trillions of dollars to help feed the women and children and old people that are in an emergency status now because we're at the end of World War II. Okay? We even offer it to Stalin, which, knowing that the Cold War has already started, makes the Marshall Plan this all-encompassing foreign policy tool to try to keep Europe from changing. So there, we have our basic definition of the Marshall Plan. And I'm going to write a paper, but my paper is going to be thesis-driven, and I'm going to try to solve something that no one else has solved. Well, what's my first step, right? My first step is I've got to come up with something about the Marshall Plan that no one else is talking about at the time. And it doesn't have to be something completely different. It can be something that everyone's talking about, but I might choose to talk about it in a different way. So, like, think about SCOTUS. When the Supreme Court rules on something, there's the majority opinion, which is the majority, and there's the dissent, right? Not minority, dissent. Those that oppose the majority. In those two categories of majority and dissent, there are justices that will write, I am the majority, meaning I agree with the majority, but I agree for a different reason, right? And they will write a concurrent, I'm not using the right words, but it starts with a C. They'll write a concurring opinion that literally says, I do agree with the majority, but they believe that it's true because of A, and I believe it's true because of B. That is how closely we're splitting the hairs on these papers. So let's say someone studied, wrote a paper on the Marshall Plan, and they wrote about how it affected women, and that was going to be your topic. But now you've done research, and you realize that someone has already written a paper about how the Marshall Plan affects women. So instead of scrapping your work and deciding it doesn't matter, you're going to think to yourself, well, okay, that avenue is closed, that roadblock happened. What else could I do with the Marshall Plan that maybe hasn't been done? Okay, so we can avoid that happening. That's where I was getting. To avoid that roadblock from happening, first we're going to do a lit review. You can call it anything you want: a literature review, a historiography, an annotated bibliography put into paragraph form. It doesn't matter the term. What we're going to do is look at what everyone today is writing about the Marshall Plan, everyone meaning historians, and we're going to see if we can figure out if we can take a road less traveled. And you're going to do this for every subject. It's just you're going to do it in a little bit of like a unique way for your subject, but the larger point is still the same. You need to know what everyone is already saying, because you're going to tell me what everyone's already saying, and then you're going to use that as a springboard to tell me why what you're saying is still more unique than what they're saying. And maybe not unique, maybe something they left out. So for instance, there's a lot of talk about the New Deal after the Great Depression, and there's a lot of talk about Roosevelt helping people get back to work, right? Building things. There's a lot of talk about building schools, building highways, hydroelectric projects, and then helping farmers. And we focus on the fact that helping farmers was part of the New Deal. But if you were African American in 1932, you were most likely a sharecropper if you lived in the South, maybe like a 2% exception. And so if you're a sharecropper, you don't own your land. Therefore, none of the New Deal policies that Roosevelt made to help farmers helps you, right? So maybe the road less traveled about FDR and the New Deal is that everyone's been talking about how the New Deal helped or how the New Deal hurt, but no one has since written on how the New Deal specifically deals with African American farmers in the lower South. Do you hear how I keep just adding adjectives and qualifiers That's how you eventually get your paper to be something that is unique. I don't know if I'm running out of time. I'm just going to go. Maybe it'll cut me off. So here you notice I have 18,551 results. That's not research. That's ridiculous. So first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. This is the same on every single library website. Just the buttons might be in a different place, but everything is the same. So I'm going to click on Available Online because I'm not going to Gettysburg in Baltimore to pick up the book. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, but not right now. Not go to Baltimore, but pick up a book that's close to you. Then I'm going to click peer-reviewed journals, meaning if I'm going to accept a journal about history, which is rare, I have to know that it's peer-reviewed if I intend to use it. So I'm going to apply those filters. And by applying those two filters, I went from, 18,000 to 2,900, close to 3,000. So I definitely made it smaller, but 3,000 is still too much. So then I'm going to go down here to source type, and I'm going to say that I want to exclude articles because I'm writing I'm writing a lit review, so I want to know what historians have said. I want to see books that are online. I'm going to ask it to show me just books. And if I start seeing some other qualifier, see how so far we're good? Those all say books. See? In a minute, though, as I keep scrolling, there's a chance that I start to see, I don't want to see the word articles, and I don't want to see the word review, which is a review of a book, not the book itself, right? So here I see one of my first books I could look up. I see it's from 2015, although this is talking about, bureaucracy and the government of the Marshall Plan. This is probably talking about 2004. Probably what it looks like after it's all been said and done. I don't know, I'm guessing. Yeah, here's another one, like anniversary edition after it's over. This looks like a good one. America, Britain, and the Reconstruction of Western Europe. We don't know, but we know it's 1987. That's not really my contemporary, so I'm going to keep looking. The Marshall Plan lessons for so I'm jumping around the dates and it's driving me crazy. If I want to go with my contemporaries, because I'm writing a lit review, I'm simply going to go in and I'm going to change the way, I shouldn't have said that before I knew where to put, here. Instead of sorting it by that, I'm going to sort it for date newest. And that's going to allow me to see who my true contemporaries are, meaning who's writing about it right now. I don't want to talk about someone's library leadership. We're starting to get off topic here. Probably some of these books have mentioned the Marshall Plan. This is this guy, Kennan. Kennan is the maker of the Marshall Plan. If I didn't know that from like a quick Wikipedia thing, I might not click on that at all. But I'm going to keep going faster and faster. This is all not helping, although these are all new. Jewish Marshall Plan, not going to deal with that. Too narrow for me just getting started. God's Marshall Plan, I too narrow. I don't want to go that way. Okay. Well, this sparks my interest, and here's why. Clearly, this man, William Blum, is either a historian who's really, really angry and a revisionist historian, or he's just like a commentator from a newspaper that has a really strong opinion. So I'm going to click Available Online. It's going to show me lots of stuff. It's going to show me the name. Right here, it's going to cite it for me. And in that citation, I can pick from these different citation models, but that's not enough. So that's still why I have EasyBib. But I can see here it's written in 2021, and I consider that very much my contemporary. So I'm going to click the link to take me to the ebook. And this is where you would log on to your, I just changed the password. Hold on. This is where you would log on, excuse me, I'm sorry, to your library. And what you're going to see is the whole book in front of you. What I'm concerned about is the author, and whether or not the author is someone of value, meaning an academic, right? How am I going to find that out? William Blum. Really quickly, before I even waste my time getting into this, I'm going to look for this guy. And I'm going to see what comes up. Okay, see, I'm already nervous right here. Oh, he's got his own organization. Okay. William Blum was an author, historian. Oh, okay, my bad. So he's got the label of historian. I don't want to look up his degrees right now, but I probably would, just to be sure, to see if I could find his CV somewhere, to see if I could find out, that says about the author. Let's see. Left the State Department, blah, blah. Freelance journalist with the CIA. Books on foreign policy. See, I don't see anything about him being an actual historian. Yeah. So I'm not going to use him. That's how I can't use him because I don't see anything about him being a historian. So I'm going to scratch that, go back, and this is literally how you do research, and you just go slow and you just go through each one, right? So I know building Afghanistan is going to be compared to the Marshall Plan. I'm not ready to do that yet. History of Central Europe, too broad. Atomic Doctors, I don't know what that's about. And if it's slow going like this for just one source, that's kind of what it's supposed to be, right? This is getting bad. If I wanted to skip from scrolling like this, there's ways that I could keep narrowing it down. I just thought that it would come up for me quite quickly if I did it right in front of you like this, kind of showing you. I didn't realize so much would come up for the Marshall Plan first. That's how big these libraries are. So remember, let me see if I can, okay, I'm just going to stick to, film campaign. That's not it. Okay, here, we'll do this one, done. 2018, I call that a contemporary. George F. Kennan, the maker of the Marshall Plan. This is about his foreign policy, clearly. Let's check the author before we have that happen again. So check the author. Make sure it's a historian. Permanent faculty in the history department at Notre Dame. Done. I'm going to go look for this book in JSTOR. Now, JSTOR is a database, but I might not have found this if I went through only JSTOR. This could have popped up in any database, right? If you're English, I think you strictly use JSTOR, but that would kill you on history, right? Because you'd miss out on all the other databases. Here's the table of contents. I can download it separately. I can download the table of contents. I can cite just using one chapter. I don't have to cite the whole book. So right here, launching the Marshall Plan. This is all I'm interested in is those 30 pages, and that's all I have to be interested in. It even shows me how to cite. Look at that. It even shows me how to cite one chapter, right? So that you don't get marked off for citing a whole book when you didn't really use the whole book. You can't do that. Right, so I can either click on chapter 2 to read it online, or I can download it and it'll turn it into a PDF and tell me exactly what the site is again. And here we see the, chapter 2. I can read those 30 pages. I can use that for my source. That's a historian who's writing about the Marshall Plan. And when I get down to all of his footnotes, I'm going to pay attention to those footnotes and I'm going to steal sources from him. Okay, that's a really common, ethical trick. When you find a good article like this by a Notre Dame historian, so prestigious and peer-reviewed, you want to steal some of their sources from the footnote. And because it's 2018, by the time I finish this, I'm going to know what my contemporaries are saying about the Marshall Plan. Okay, I would do this for 4 or 5 more historians, and then I would have a general idea about what historians right now are writing about the Marshall Plan. And so I'm going to make something up because I don't know if it's true. I'm going to think that they're all writing that it was a mistake. So I'm going to take the road less traveled, and I'm going to write that whether it was right or not, it was successful. Okay? Or I'm going to write whether or not the Marshall Plan actually exacerbated or made the Cold War worse. I'm going to find some way to make my paper interesting. Okay? So when you pull up these sources that you're going to use, and you wonder why you can't just copy this citation right here, this Chicago one. You could. The problem is this is only good for a bibliography. It's not good for a footnote. I'm going to try to go fast, but I still can't see my timer. But I can't just copy and paste this unless I have a Google Doc running that I'm calling my running bibliography, in which case I might. But that's still not the way that you write a footnote. A footnote is first name first, last name last, and a bibliography is last name last, last name first, second name, first name second. Okay? So instead what I'm going to do is this is a book. Whenever it's a book, I'm not going to copy and paste all this mess. I'm just going to scroll down and I'm going to find the ISBN number. That way I never make a mistake. And I'm going to copy this ISBN number. It doesn't matter which ISBN you use. And I'm going to go to EasyBib. This is my account on EasyBib. And here I have the paper I'm working on right now. These are lists of other papers. If I were to see all of them, you would notice some of your peers in here, right? Like there's Sapide's Bio IA, there's Cadence EE, there's Sapide's Math IA, Alexia's, it keeps going, right? But this one's mine. The reason that we like EasyBib is because of, look at what it does. That's the paper that I'm writing right now for Jimmy Carter. Do you understand the position that I would be in if I couldn't remember where my sources were? Or if, I don't know, I erased them from the Google Doc? Or what if someone asks me for a running bibliography right at this moment? I would have to like go. The point is it's all done here. I can copy it, I can export it, I can move it around, I can change it. But the best thing of all is once I get the citation, I can either ask it to do the bibliography or the footnote. The footnote is the one that goes on the bottom of the page, and it asks for the page number. That way you don't forget. And the citation is the one that goes in the bibliography, and it does not ask you for a page number. You just see down here at the bottom, it says the citation is copied, right? And then you can put it right into your paper. So you'll see here on my paper for my class, this the Jimmy Carter paper I'm writing, there's my title. And then you'll see when I start, there's some footnotes of mine, right? You'll see that like the first name is first, but if you go all the way to my bibliography, you'll see that the last name is first. So it is different and it does matter. They're different. So if you just use the cite tool on the library's website, because it's free and it's there, that's cool, but it's only ever going to give you the bibliography, and you're still going to have to figure out how to format it for the footnote unless you use EasyBib. And then let's say it's a year later and you have to go back to that paper. Maybe once it's in your Google Drive, you've lost it forever, but here it's kept really neat and clean. And then here you can edit as you need to. There's a lot of stuff you can do on here. If you're brave, you can get on Instagram or YouTube, and there's lots of tutorials on how to use Zotero. I'm not interested. I'm just going to put it on plain old-fashioned note cards. Your generation tends to prefer this. So I'm going to leave it here for you so you can see the name and you can try it, but I'm not doing it. And then if you have a question about Chicago Manual of Style and citations, I just showed you. So this author date system, that's when it goes in parentheses inside the paper. So that would be global politics and dance. It would be happening while you're writing. I'm trying to find one as an example. Oh, duh, right there. So if it's a sample paper for in the paper that you're look, see, it's in the paper. In the middle of the paper, there's a footnote or like a version of a footnote right in the middle. That's called author date, because the only thing you show for proof is the author and the date. But I don't use that. History uses notes and bibliography, right? Where there's a footnote, that's what they mean by note, and a bibliography. So here when we see this example, this is one that has nothing in the writing. It's listed at the bottom as a footnote, right? It's always listed as a footnote. Should not have spaces between them, but whatever. There's all those. And then if you get to the bibliography, there it's showing you the reverse of the name. Okay, so that is why there is a difference. If you're confused, that is the difference. All of it's Chicago. All of it's citation. It's a difference between whether you want to look at it in the middle of the sentence or the end of the sentence, or whether you want to look at it at the bottom of the page. That's it. And I do believe an author date system, let me see, I could be wrong. I think an author date system has a works cited, not a bibliography. Oh, are you kidding? Does it cover it up? Oh, references. Okay, that's weird. I've never seen it called that before. But also I've never written an author date paper. Okay, let's go back to our source. So let's say I access this and I've decided I'm going to check, and I've got my book that I'm going to look into, and I don't know what I'm going to use from this book, but I'm going to look around. I see Potsdam. I don't want Potsdam. The Marshall Plan, right? So here, I know it's going to be these 3 pages. That's not a lot, but I'm going to download the PDF, and that's going to allow me to have a book as one of my sources, right? Which you need to avoid. You can't use internet sources, and if you use journals, they have to be peer reviewed. So this is a pretty good deal, this short little stint on the Marshall Plan, okay? You can still count it, and the guy's a historian, so you can keep that. As soon as you put the ISBN, oh crap, I never showed you. So you hover, I don't know why it like disappears, but you hover over create citation. I want to use a book, and I see it says search by ISBN number. That way you know you have it right. Oh, I messed that up. Let me go back and get the ISBN number. You put that in here, and it's going to give you the exact book, this one, in which case you cite it, and it shows up right here. Now it says it might be missing information. That's because it knows that you probably accessed the book online and not in a library. So you have to click here and fix it. See? They don't like it because it says in print. It believes you are using it as an ebook or you're getting it through a database. You, in fact, are using it as an ebook. So you go over here and click ebook, and now you have to fill more out. You have the author, you have the other author, you have the title. Usually it's missing the state. The website title, in this case, it's going to be ProQuest eBook Central. Then you're also having the URL because it's an ebook. Then there's a date that it was made electronic, a date that you accessed it, which was today. So after you add all that stuff and you click update, then it'll be a good citation. Okay. So Tarot is for taking notes once you have the source in front of you. I just don't know how to do it. I only know how to do it like with handwritten note cards. But this is the citation. That's how you keep track of what you want to say from that source, always keeping track of the date. And then when you search for the library, through the library, you want to do a general search unless you belong to Huntley, in which case you might be doing, or you more than likely will be doing a database search. So like here, you'd be starting up here, whereas history is not going to do that. For people writing historiographies, I've got to be out of time, but it hasn't told me yet. For people writing historiographies, you can go to publication date. So for instance, like there's a moment in time on Charlie's EE where he is specifically only interested in what they're saying about his event from 1950 to 1960. That also works for the Marshall Plan. So what I'm going to ask the paper to do is take all these sources, and if I only want to see what historians said about the Marshall Plan in those 10 years, then I just refine my sources. And now I'm looking at only 3. So in this whole library, these are the only 3 sources. And see, that says 2020. So there's already a problem, right? You just have to click on stuff. That says 1959. We're good on that one. That one says 1953. We're good on this one. I don't know what the deal is with this one, why it's not working. In those cases, you just have to click around and see. You usually have a function on your library where you can pin things to come back to them later. Maybe a link, or you can email to yourself. All college libraries do the same thing. Okay, last but not least is WorldCat. WorldCat is the library of the world. It is only books. It is not journals. Okay, books, well, I just lied. Books, articles, everything, whatever. Just keep it at items. And I'm going to do the Marshall Plan. It has less articles than it has books. You see here, I don't even know if it's, oh, I lied. This one has a lot, but okay. I want to click on books. I'm interested in books. And I'm only interested in ebooks because I'm stuck, right? Here's an ebook that I may or may not be able to borrow because it's not from the Dallas Public Library and I don't live in Dallas. So let's try something different. Let's try a print book instead. But let's ask where I can find this book near me. So let me find a book that I think is going to be really helpful. I'm going to pick this one because, again, it's 2018. I like this. Dawn of the Cold War. I need to check to see if this guy's a historian. Just going to check on his little author thing here. This is going to give me more about this guy. It doesn't tell me. let's see if we can figure out who this guy is, because there's no use in even using the source if you can't prove who the guy is. American economist